show that brings you the best and nevertheless hard-hitting analysis of globalization news. With your host, Shalome A. Damos and Jaisal Jan Wong, in today's podcast, we'll talk about the new era of terrorism, bringing out the 9/11 attacks as an example that led to a new era of globalized terrorism.
And I am Bea Marie Lara, presenting interesting facts and reasons as to why we must be held accountable of our actions. Alright, let's get right into it.
Do you guys know what happened in 9/11 attacks? Honestly, I don't really have any idea exactly what happened on the 9/11 attacks. How about you, Billy?
There are actually attacks which led to many deaths of many people.
Yeah, actually that's right. In 9/11 attacks, the plane were hijacked and it led to thousands deaths of people. So, after that attack, the U.S. Security Council called the attention of individuals in the U.S. to fight for justice because since it led to 2,996 deaths of people. And these attacks it led to the new era of globalized terrorism. And there was a fresh breed of extremists who were willing to sacrifice themselves when they hijacked that plane and crashed it into the towers in the U.S. They also used high destructive weapons and technologies. So the self-supported terrorist network have emerged, and modern integrated economies and regional trade areas, and these attributes we know as the globalized terrorism, and in which it incorporates technology-driven potentialities that influence larger audience and all of the attributes of new terrorism. So what our technology is developing or upgrading, that would help to live our everyday lives more easily, like the transportation, for example, transportation, and while the terrorism take advantage of the newly advanced technology in which they communicate easily to their ally. So the new era of terrorism is involves technology. Yes.
Oh. Well, in terrorism, in different places of the world, or international terrorism, through certainly not a new phenomenon, in this new era, where people are so adaptive to media such as internet and audiovisual communiques to deliver message and to also spread news. And also terrorists became very extremists that they use the internet and such as a medium to broadcast their motives and violence to gain what they really want. And setting the world as their stage and everyone as their audience, using the wide range of information to their own benefit.
So I could really say that thing is really happening now in our country, especially
Yes.
the sending clips like the hostage. Yeah, they
Yes,
can
of the
just post
people.
it in YouTube.
Yeah, especially now that we are very adaptive to internet and such.
Since technology is so open to everyone, anybody can access it. Yes, even the children could see that. Right. Like what you hear so far, make sure you never miss every second of this podcast. Want some more? Now back at the show. So Al-Qaeda, the one who was responsible for the 9/11 attacks, was said to be the modern era's archetypal globalized terrorist network. So they're like the standard in today's era, and it is a quintessentially terrorist archetype. Also a Marxist-inspired terrorist. Al-Qaeda is an example of domestic ethno-nationalist revolutionary movements that have linked their nationalistic identities, their religion, and just like what I said earlier, the Marxist type.
Al-Qaeda, born from the war against Soviet invasion of Afghanistan in 1980, and the fundamentalist strain of nihilism creates setting wherein the only concrete agenda is to send forth cadres to fight and die for a global Islamist revolution. And also Al-Qaeda is a great example as the organizational model for the new millennium, and it is both concrete as network and abstract as an idea. Hence, symbolic beginning rather than an end in itself.
So by creating a paradigm shifts, the new challenge of the new terrorism is a fighting shadow war on a globalized battlefield, in which where violent is the extremist and more on the cultural invasion and create political
crisis in the afflicted countries or regions.
So they're not just into it for the violence, but they also have other agendas.
Yes, that's true. So in the new era of terrorism, terrorists now use high-yield weapons, and like what I've said, and they plan attacks on unexpected target by using creative method or tactics, such as the attacks of the United States, which is the 9/11 attacks, and in Spain in March 11, 2004. That those are just some example of attacks that they use technology, powerful technology to invade. New technologies were used.
Wow, so really these attacks, they had patience and meticulous planning to do this.
Yes, terrorists are very brilliant nowadays.
So, to sum it up, these trends indicate that globalized terrorism has become the central attribute of the modern era, alongside the rise of vastly enhanced technologies that connect the world. So just like what we talked about earlier, the new era of terrorism connects to the technology. So the rise of technologies also is the rise of like the new era of globalized terrorism.
I agree.
And to add up to that, new era terrorism also destroys the power and hold of leaders to independently protect their country from external and also internal attacks. As the world continues to transform, new threats greater than before starts to emerge. It is also seen that the world's civilized nations fight against terrorism, and it will also determine the future course of the country's international relations. Furthermore, the environment which nurtures such conflict has also become globalized and also well developed.
So does that mean that how the country that was affected by the attack, how they react to that and how they respond to that attack affects their development?
Yes.
That's really interesting.
Thanks for listening in today's podcast, The New Era of Terrorism. Hope you enjoy your day, everyone. Stay tuned for the next episode.